Reanimal is a game published by THQ Nordic and developed by Tarsier Studios. It can be played co-op, but my time with it was spent solo. And if it feels more like Little Nightmares 3 than Little Nightmares 3 did, there's a very good reason. This is the same studio who brought us Little Nightmares 1 and 2. And yeah, with apologies to Supermassive Games who took over the franchise, this feels more like the third in the series. Although the story is completely original, there's no doubt this is a spiritual successor. Once again, we encounter a young set of heroes whose faces are perpetually covered by a variety of hats and masks as they stumble, fall, tumble, roll, and scramble through one set of unsettlingly horrifying situation after another. Reanimal tells the story of, well, apparently it's a brother and sister, but I didn't even realize that was the case until sitting down to write this review and doing a little online research. Anyhow, it's about a brother and sister, I guess, who, well, I mean, there's water and a boat and some buoys, and, you know, let's be honest, I have absolutely no idea what the story is about. And when the credits rolled a few hours later, I still had no idea. But I was totally fine with that, because that's exactly what happened to me in Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I didn't need to understand the big picture story to know that these predicaments I found myself in were ones I needed to get myself out of as soon as possible. This dev team thrives at building atmosphere, and Reanimal is another perfect example of how a few rusty beams, some rickety floorboards, and, at times, the lack of soundtrack is all you need to be set ill at ease. I once read that one reason the original Paranormal Activity movie was so effective is because a very quiet, nearly inaudible hum was added throughout the duration of the film. You don't pick up on it consciously, but your mind knows something isn't right. And that's every scenario in Reanimal. Every time you go through a door, you're greeted with an environment where something isn't right. Is the room taller than it should be? To quote Dane Cook, why is the floor wet? What's the low gurgling sound I'm hearing in my right headphone? And is that a skin suit? Sometimes things move that shouldn't. And sometimes things you think are going to move don't do anything. And sometimes things move in the most unsettling way possible. And instead of thinking, why is that moving? All you can think is, why is that moving like that? There should be a sigh of relief when you manage to escape from the area you're in, whether through slight puzzle solving or a series of manic traversal chase scenes. But the game rarely stops to let you catch your breath. Instead, you're greeted by an out-of-the-frying-pan welcoming committee that has you muttering, "Now what?" The fun of the escape and the thrill of the chase are wonderful distractions from the big picture, which, again, totally fine, because I can't piece the big picture together. Many times during my playthrough of the game, I found myself saying out loud, "I don't understand metaphor. I have no idea what's happening." As I mentioned earlier, though, I didn't have a problem with that, and I actually went into the game thinking that would be the case. I played and loved Little Nightmares 1 and 2, but couldn't even begin to explain the story. After playing them, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole of explainer videos, and yeah, the story that was being told was actually being told in a really cool way. I especially loved how they did it in Little Nightmares 2. But I wouldn't have put two and two together on my own and figured out exactly what was happening. After it was explained to me, it made my enjoyment of the game even deeper, and now the symbolism was obvious. But I freely admit, I don't have the smarts to have gotten there on my own. And I figured that would be the case with Reanimal. The whole time I played, I kept telling myself, I have no idea what this means, but I'm going to watch a YouTube video after, and it's going to be so freaking cool. It's going to blow my mind. I finished the game, and I thought about what I experienced, and I didn't come up with anything. No theories at all. So, like I knew I would, I went on a YouTube hunt. Watched a couple explainer videos, and you know what? It was alright. I was so blown away by the story that had been told in Little Nightmares 2 and how they told it. This time around, felt a bit anticlimactic. I just wanted to get blown away again, and I wasn't. It didn't take away from my enjoyment during the game, but it made the aha revelatory moment afterward a little less aha and a little more, huh. In fact, my only real moments of frustration came from actually playing the game, or more accurately at times, trying to play it. Not only did I expect to be confused during my playtime, but after Little Nightmares 2, I expected some moments of pure gamer, why won't this do what I want it to do? If you remember the horrible flashlight controls in Little Nightmares 2, they actually made me quit the game for a few days. You'll understand what I'm getting at. Here, the in-game camera is not your friend. And there are more than a few times when it completely blocks your field of vision, hiding obstacles and holes that send you immediately plummeting to your death. In fact, very rarely did I die in the game from the creature trying to kill me, but instead from the sheer struggle of traversing a game where the depth of field is sometimes impossible to read. And even worse than the flashlight controls of the previous outing, he's trying to drive a tank down a winding road while you're being chased toward the camera where the left and right stick and both triggers all do something different and completely unintuitive, and depending on the way the road is winding, the horizontal controls become inverted. There are a few times I wondered if I would see the end of this game at all. But I did. And it was fine. It was fine. It was okay. I didn't find every secret, and as a result, I didn't unlock the secret ending, and I kind of knew that was going to happen. It's a very short game, a runtime of around 4 hours, and despite the promise of 3 DLCs being released in the next year, I'm glad I didn't spring for the premium edition. I was fine paying $40 for the base story, but honestly, man, $30 feels like it would have been a better place for it to live. At the end of the day, Reanimal was exactly what I thought it would be, both good and bad. I'm glad I played, but considering I'll have to go to YouTube after to have it explained to me, I don't know that I'll splurge for the DLCs this time around. Did you play? What did you think? Were you able to wrap your head around the ending? Hey, drop me a line at groundsforgaming@gmail.com and let me know how it went for you. And if you'll ever look at sheep the same way again.